So, Prav, it's so wonderful to have you on Filme Shilmy. You are, of course, one of our first initial panelists for the Filme Shilmy show, and we've done so many Q&As together for Little English, and now you've got Frankie Goes to Bollywood. So tell me, how has the project come along? I mean, obviously, you're set to go on tour this month.
Yeah. Well, this is a long time coming. This project's been 7 years in concept and to delivery. Obviously, COVID got in the way. Yeah, it's a real labor of love, and we're in rehearsals. I've just come out now. We're working with the actors. We're putting songs together. 17 original songs, so you can imagine the kind of workload of that. It's a dancey, singy musical. Everything's original. And yeah, it's just been a real kind of mighty machine, almost like making a movie, really. It's because musicals are so big. There's a big cast, there's a music department, there's dance, there's costume. It's just a whole big thing. It's really exciting, and I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Oh, I'm very excited. And I think, Prav, it's come at quite an opportune time as well because we've not actually had like a sort of Bollywood musical, I think, in a while that's actually gone on Broadway in that sense, right? I think last time I can remember was probably what Merchants of Bollywood or that kind of sort of a
Yeah.
zone. And but I think here it's not just a love letter to Hindi cinema. I think here it's also kind of raising awareness of the sort of lesser known facts or perhaps the darker side of the industry as well. So
Yeah.
I think for you, given the fact that you've obviously worked in Mumbai, you've had a good experience there. How have you kind of managed to balance the beautiful side of it, the love letter, as I mentioned, as well as the critical side? How have you managed to fuse those aspects?
I mean, unlike those other shows, this is not a dance musical. This is a musical where people are singing live with a band. It's not focused around Hindi songs that already exist. This is an original story and original music. And very often people confuse the word musical with a dance musical. So this is a musical I'd say in the real theatrical term. But it's a difficult task because I've grown up watching Hindi cinema and Bollywood commercial cinema. And I suppose, when you're watching these films, as you get older, you're kind of going, I'm complicit in things that are troublesome. I'm watching very young women with much older men on screen, and that makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm seeing nearly every A-list star is from a family, and some are good actors, but most are not. How did they get this opportunity? And then you start asking deeper questions as an artist. What about artists? How are artists going to survive in a commercial Indian film industry where everybody's related to everybody else? And so I spent many years with this buzzing around in my head. Lots of my friends still work in Bollywood, so I have absolute kind of real connection. So I'll to answer your question, it's a balancing act of the things that you love, the glitz, the glamour, the sparkle, but then the darker questions that you want to ask. And I think this musical has all of the things that you love, but it's also going to ask you some important questions about how complicit are we in our popular culture? How are we treating women? And I think it's important for men to ask these questions also, because we can't just leave those questions to be answered by women.
Hmm.
It's not, we should also be allies in going, what are we doing to address the inequality and the sexism in our most popular culture, which is Bollywood?
Absolutely, very well said there. And I think the most amazing thing I think that is about you, Prav, is that you're not one who goes for this sense of glamour and someone who basically uh uses people who are already established in a sense where you are very okay with finding raw talents who are not your stereotypical Instagram influencer in terms of artists, right? I think for you as well when you've casted, because I looked at the cast list and I was very impressed with the sort of people you've chosen. I mean, Navin obviously is such a well-known singer, and the fact that he's actually kind of making his acting debut here, it's quite interesting, and I'm very curious to see how that is. But how sure have you had to be, I think, when you're having that keen eye for casting? Because I feel like a lot of directors especially, they kind of just go more for a glamorous name because it suits their criteria and they just use it as a diversity box, as I often say. So
Yeah,
how
yeah.
sure have you had to be during this whole years?
And I think, and it's when we're making work, if your art is important to you, I think you want to rise up other artists and you want to make sure your work can be the best it possibly can. So when I'm casting, I'm looking for creative partners who are going to read the work and give it life. So when I was casting Frankie, it was absolutely essential to me that the actress, really not only could act, but could sing and could dance and could do all those things, but also find that deeper underbelly, play more than the glamour, because we're asking some important questions. And in that, Layla Zaidi, who's playing Layla, is just incredible. She's been on a long journey with me because she's done this musical has been workshopped over many years.
Hmm.
So when you make musical theatre like this, you can't just write it and then put it on. You do a workshop and you go and write it. And during those workshops, what I started to do is I started to bring cast members that I thought might play those parts.
Hmm.
And what happens is you get to really work with the cast and really test the relationship, and they get to test the work as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important to support talent, and that's what my company theatre, Rifco Theatre Company is all about. We're all about raising up British South Asian talent, about diaspora stories, and telling our stories in an authentic way that we too want to watch. So it's not just for a sea of white audiences, it's for everyone, including us.
Yeah, and do you know what? I was going to come to this because I think the we've had so many conversations about like when it comes to diversity and all of this, right? We've literally had an entire chat show just talking about this. So when it again comes to because I remember last time I spoke to you about the way how satisfied you feel with the way um you're getting approached and you're getting that, let's just say, funding and that validation, so to speak, from mainstream companies. How do you feel now? I mean, this was like back in 2022, so this was quite some time ago. Do you think things have changed a little bit in terms of sort of the West, in a way, accepting us and perhaps even ourselves actually accepting one another? Because I think that's also a very, very essential point as well.
I suppose, things are all progressively getting better because we are putting up the fight. This show is all about that. When you come and see it, the last song will make you think because, I mean, even for me, I'm reasonably successful. Every day, I still get no's. I still get told, you know, there's conversations constantly where I am also told no, and even some of my very, very successful friends are so it's a constant battle in this business to keep proving yourself. And when you're a person of color, it's even harder because we are constantly having to prove that we're good enough. We're constantly having to prove that our work is valid, that our work has an audience. I mean, there seems to be there's a lack of, I suppose, memory. People forget very quickly. I've had some really big hit shows, and they're not remembered. When we're booking shows with venues, very often they've have no clue who we are, and we're like, but my white contemporaries,
Yeah.
you haven't forgotten their work. So
Mm.
there's a constant obstacle when and people go, oh, you're talking about the race card because I've every day that is my battle. My battle is that I'm leading brown stories for brown people, and that doesn't mean they're not for everyone. It's for everybody. But I suppose the kind of flag that we are flying is authentic in a
Mhm.
way, and more authentic than other work that you might see on stage.
Sure. And understandably so, and very well said. Obviously, I'm sure your time has been pretty much occupied with Frankie Goes to Bollywood, but I think like how you did with Little English as well, which was obviously initially it was a stage production, and then you kind of then sort of translated it and it became a film. Uh, do you kind of aspire to make Frankie Goes to Bollywood into a Hindi film? I know I'm like thinking like three steps ahead, but I was just wondering because it would be very fascinating to watch, especially told from a British Asian perspective.
Yeah. The story is about a British woman who is caught in the spotlights and ends up in Bollywood, like many have. You know, many actresses have gone from here and from Sweden and from other countries. And it's about the conveyor belt of how young women are brought in, used, and thrown out, you know, and it's constant, but the men go on and on and on. So it's asking some really important questions about the treatment of young people, especially young people and young women who don't have backings of families. I mean, look, we've talked about this a lot. I love cinema. This is a big show. When you come and see it, it's a proper British stage musical. Of course, it's got a lot to say, and one day I hope it could be a movie. But right now, I've got to get it right for the stage. So I've got like 15 people in a room doing a big number right now, which I'm going to go back to do. But yeah, of course, I'd love that. But you know, that's a big dream because
Mhm.
even getting this to stage has
Mhm.
taken a long time because it costs so much to make these kind of big shows. And
Yeah.
to make a movie, you're talking about a lot of money. And let's see, watch
And
this
it,
space.
and that's one thing I admire a lot about you, Prav, is that even in toughest situations, like for example with Frankie Goes to Bollywood, and this is why I think like our synergies really met when it came to Filme Shilmy show as well, because again, Rifco is independent, right? In that sense, like you're not like a massive, corporation. It's a very humble theater production house, but does really well in terms of the reach and the concepts you have. But how do you keep that positivity and that patience intact? Because honestly, it can get very, very difficult on a daily basis.
Ask my team in my office. I go in there ranting and raving quite a lot. But I suppose you have to. You have to get up every day and renew your fight. You have to get up every day and go, right, what's today's battle? Because there always is one. It's this is not an easy business, and as you know this, be
Mm,
it film, be it theatre, you know, we've chosen a difficult life for ourselves. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Um, and I suppose like my mum still doesn't understand what I do on a daily basis. Like she's like, I don't actually know what you do. What is a director? What do you do? And I try and explain it to her. She's like, I have no clue. Oh, I'm just going to go and watch the show. And a lot of people don't know what it's like on a daily basis. You know, I spend a lot of my time trying to find funding, trying to find partners, working on scripts. So my whole day is kind of really varied. But yeah, every day is a renewed battle, I would say. That's the best way to describe it.
oh, absolutely. But look, I can't wait to check out Frankie Goes to Bollywood. I mean, I know how much of a dream project this has been for you for a while. And I mean,
Thank
like you
you.
said, it's been in the pipeline for a while. And I think last year after coming to see Happy Birthday, Sunita, it really genuinely has made me even more curious. And I mean, the way you did it in such simplicity and such, it's a basic setup, but yet so powerful with the actors and the music and the technical aspects. I think it was amazing. So I can't wait to check out Frankie
This
Goes
is
to
way
Bollywood.
less simple. This is a big old production,
Oh,
dancing, there's singing, there's, everything you'd expect from a Bollywood film. But yeah, I think people will come and they'll have a good time. It's funny. I mean, even though we're talking about serious things, it is still very funny. I mean, I find it very hard just to write drama. Even with Little English, you remember, it's quite a serious subject, but how funny is Simi in that? And very similar in this, Frankie and the people she comes up against, they're quite hilarious. I find hilarity in the darkest places sometimes. So let's
true.
see.
Absolutely. Well, look, can't wait to check it out, Prav. It's always
Thank you.
such a pleasure to have you on Film Me Show Me. And as you know, you're also a dear friend of our publication. So for us, it's always like really wonderful to support the great work that you're doing at Rifco, and can't wait to check it out soon.
Come and see us on tour. Yeah, we're all over the country.
Definitely, no, I will definitely come for sure. Cool. Thank you, Prav. Thank you. All the best.
Bye bye.